What is happening to all of my fellow YouTube subscribers and Instagram followers? Welcome to the next video on Sterling on Cinemas, and that's Cinemas with an S. And today I'll be giving you my review on Finding Nemo as part of my Pixar series that I have every Tuesday, where I give you my review on a Pixar film, and today is that day for Finding Nemo. We're starting to get into that easy territory. So before I begin, if you are new to this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment in the section below, and most importantly, watch. And if you don't, that's okay. The sharks will always be watching. And if you're watching this on Instagram, same thing goes to you too, dude. If this is your first time watching this on this video or this playlist or this series per se, don't forget to follow me, like, share it with your friends and families and with your other followers and the people you also follow. And most importantly, watch it to the very end and leave a comment if you have something to say about the EAC. Let's get to it. So, Finding Nemo. Long time no see. The film centers on Marlin, who was a clownfish who was overly cautious with his son Nemo, who has a foreshortened fin, also called a lucky fin, so named because he has survived. He is the lucky survivor of a swordfish attack. So when Nemo swims too close to the surface to prove himself, he is caught by a diver, and horrified Marlin must set out to find him. A blue reef fish named Dory, who has a really short-term memory loss problem, joins Marlin and complicates the encounters with sharks, jellyfish, and a host of ocean dangers. Meanwhile, Nemo plots his own escape from the dentist's fish tank. So, here's my take on the story, man. I am one of the many people who would consider Finding Nemo to be one of the most beloved and cherished Pixar films to this day, even in 2020. The story continues the tradition of going on a vast adventure, having memorable characters, and a whole lot of heart and emotion, and a valuable lesson to it. The first thing to point out is that throughout the years, Pixar would increasingly start to experiment with new animation on many different things, including the ocean. And the first time they would animate explosions and big things like that. But even in 2020, when you look back on this movie, just the way Pixar designed the ocean and every sea creature, big and small, is just visually stunning. As far as the conflict goes, in the story, Finding Nemo is the first Pixar film to have, I guess this is my opinion, but this is the first Pixar film to have serious stakes to it. Like, the conflict may not be big in and of itself, but the weight that this conflict carries makes the stakes feel high. Not to mention, every obstacle that Marlin and Dory face along the way is just truly memorable. I'll talk about that later. And this is one of the few Pixar films where I got emotional. Like, even when I watched this before recording this, I cried 3 times in the tear-jerking moments. Like, because it has sad moments. From Marlin's disastrous experience with the swordfish, in the opening segment, with all those 399 eggs gone, and Nemo's the only one there, and he swears a promise: I will always protect you, no matter what. Or Marlin being reunited with Nemo during the climax of the story. And needless to say, there are 2 themes in Finding Nemo. The first one is obvious, which is just keep swimming. And the overall theme of Finding Nemo is all about trust. I'm going to talk about that more in the next section. Let's go. Now, the characters. Now, back on the overall theme of trust, to reiterate, or per se, we see how Marlin's life gets changed forever when his wife, Coral, and a great number of offsprings get killed by a savage swordfish in the opening act of the film. And this pretty much sets up his character for the rest of the movie, like his mindset, his protective nature. And it is from here where Marlin becomes an overprotective parent and is reluctant to let Nemo do anything with anyone. And it is not that he doesn't love these fish, but it is his constant fear of what is out there in the opening ocean, fearing that what happened to his wife may happen to Nemo also. Now, Marlin's trust issues further into his unexpected dynamics with Dory, who clearly has a memento problem. So even if he wanted to trust Dory, she would not know who was asking for her help. Oh, hey, look, a camera. How did I get here? What orange shirt? Man, it's very, very tight. Man, I'm in a very tight, closed space. How did I get here? Really? Really? Something's wrong with you. You're wasting my time. Let's continue. Let's continue the review. I am sure that this flaw that Marlin possesses that would take a while for him to let go really resonated and cut deep inside of most parents. Because let's be honest, to be honest, there are a lot of overprotective parents out there. There are a bunch of overprotective parents out there that, due to some personal fear that they've had when they were younger or tragedy, they want to compare their life to their children, thinking that they are not their own individual, that just because they are flesh and blood, that they are pretty much an extension of the parent. But no, yes, they are flesh and blood, but they are not you. Like, they're not you. They are their own individuals, so you have to let them go at some points in time. And so due to this, it makes them hesitant to let their own kids experience life on their own. But later on, Crush the sea turtle even teaches Martin that sometimes you have to let your kids go on their own path. And I don't mean you have to completely get rid of them. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to ship your kids off to boarding school or whatnot. But at the same time, they are an individual who has a whole life ahead of them, and you can't always be beside them you can't always walk with them through their life. Like, in the times where you can walk with them, yes, be the parent. But when they're like 21, you're not really the parent, you're more like the consultant. Because like, even in the scene in the EAC, you can see all the turtles, all the parent sea turtles playing with their little hatchlings. And, Crush lets his son Squirt, yeah, I think that's his name, Squirt, he gets caught out of the EAC, and he finds his way back, and that's just a representation on how he needs to let Nemo find his way back. Not that he shouldn't help him, but he has to let him give it a try. Now, aside from the turtles though, every obstacle, like I said, has its own memorable moments, like the shark savagery.
Are you okay? That's good.
The jellyfish racing sequence, or those annoying seagulls. Bye, 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 bye. Meanwhile, and I just realized this. I never really, like I said, when I watched these movies in the past, any movie in the past, I didn't look at it as a critic. I looked at it as a moviegoer, so I generally enjoyed them. But anyway, in the times I've watched Finding Nemo, I've just always saw those scenes with him and the dentist in the aquarium with all the other fish. Those were good scenes. Like, it taught Nemo to grow on his own, and they gave him the opportunity to do things on his own, and this helped him to be more confident and to be more courageous and more fearless. So, meanwhile, back at the dentist's office, each of the fish in the aquarium show faith towards Nemo simply because he came from the ocean, and they think that he could potentially get them back. But of course, he doesn't think the plan through. While it serves as a genuine flip side to Martin's reluctance, it is also just a fun subplot allowing Nemo to get a sense of what it is like for people to have trust in you. But see, at the end of the day, Marlin learns that trust is something that should be given more than it is earned. Because it is not like Nemo was responsible for the death of his siblings and mother, but Marlin learns that Nemo is the only piece of family he has left. And the first thing he needs is to experience what his dad had to experience in order to find him. It's almost like Marlin had to put his skepticism aside and risk it all to go through the wonders and dangers of Finding Nemo. Like all that stuff Marlin went through, Nemo would have wanted to do that. And it's almost like it helps both. It's beautiful because it helps both Marlin and Nemo to grow and to experience what they want to experience. But for Marlin, he's experienced what he refused, and what he would refuse, what he would turn down, and Nemo would get to experience what he would always want to experience in the first place. But now that Marlin is open to trusting him, he can now do these things with freedom and with the sense of individuality without his father being in the way. Not that he can't be a parent, but sometimes you have to stay close to your kids while letting them go the distance, and that is the lesson of Finding Nemo. Rotten Tomatoes gives Finding Nemo a 99% score. Like I said, you'd be surprised how many of these Pixar movies actually have a score over 90. Like, it's amazing. It shows, like I said, it goes to show how much these critics adore these so-called kids movies. Anyway, Finding Nemo will always stand the test of time and tides with its fun adventure, profound story, memorable characters, and an unforgettable lesson in trust. So I will give this movie 9.3 SOS out of 10. I love it on the same level as Toy Story 2, but a little better than Monsters Incorporated also. So that is the end of this review. You can let me know what you guys think about Finding Nemo and to this day. When's the last time you watched it? How many times have you cried when you've seen Finding Nemo? And next week is it on the Pixar series. We finally go get there. Y'all know what comes after Finding Nemo and before Cars, the superhero epic, Incredibles. Let's go. Have a good night. See you guys tomorrow on the way back Wednesday. Bye.